Okay, now let's look at one that's just a little bit more in depth. We will take the practice example 3. That one we had IP address of 64.26.80.0. It was a /24. Okay, on this one we had 3 routers. Okay, this was Shelby. I need 100 hosts. This one was Kings Mountain. It needed 7 hosts. This is Asheville, and it needs 58 hosts. And each of these are WANs. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is make my chart so that I can fill it in correctly. I have my subnet here. Next, I'm going to have my net ID. It may also be called your IP subnet. Then we're going to have our first usable host, our last, our broadcast. I'm going to have my subnet mask. I'm going to have my prefix. I'm going to have my number of usable hosts and my possible subnets. Okay, remember to go most host first. Okay, so my most host is going to be Shelby because it has 100. Next, we will have Asheville. Then we've got Kings Mountain. Don't do my lines very straight on this. Then we've got our WAN 1, WAN 2, and WAN 3. Okay. So let's subnet this out. Shelby is going to begin with 64.26.80.0. I need 100 hosts. Those are 100 usable hosts. So in order to subnet this out, I look at my magic number chart that I created. So the magic number I'm going to need is 128. So I know that my next one will start at 64.26.80, and I'm going to add 128 to my 0, so it starts at 128. Okay, so the prefix I'm using is 25. Okay, I have a possible usable host of 126, and I've got possible 2 subnets at this location. So then I can start working out the rest of the information I need. The broadcast for Shelby is going to be 1 less than the net ID of Asheville. So its broadcast is going to be 127. So it'll be 64.26.80.127. My last usable is the one right before that one. And my first usable host is the one right after my net ID. So it's .1. My subnet mask is 255.255.128 because I'm using the 25 prefix. That means I've got 25 ones turned on. So I do that in binary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's my 25th. And then you have 7 zeros. Okay? Now let's move on to Asheville. Asheville needs 58 So we're going to look at our magic number chart, and the one that I'm going to need has the magic number of 64. So I'll add 64 to 128. And that gives me 192. Okay. And that one is the /26 prefix. That means I have a total number of 62 usable hosts, and I could possibly net that out 4 times. Okay, so Asheville's broadcast is going to be one less than Kings Mountain's net ID, so it's 191, and then we fill in our chart from there. Our subnet mask, we're going to look at our magic number chart to figure out what our subnet mask is going to be. It's going to be .192. We're going to have 26 ones turned on. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 25, 26. And then you have 6 zeros turned down. Okay, let's keep going. Kings Mountain needs 7 hosts. Okay. You might think you could use the magic number of 8, but that only leaves you with 6 usable hosts. So you're going to need to use the magic number of 16. And yes, you will waste some usable hosts, but you need to have enough to cover the 7 that you have that you know you need now. So we're going to add 16 to the 192. That gives us .208. And we use the 16, we know that is a prefix of 28. That gives us usable host of 14, which covers the 7. And we could possibly have 16 subnets. Okay, so our broadcast for Kings Mountain is 1 less than our first WAN's net ID. So that's .207. And then we just go through and you fill in your chart from here. This is why this chart is so handy, because as you go in and you actually start keying in the information on the routers and the switches, and you configure your PCs, you've got your information right here. So our subnet mask for a /28 is 255.255.255.240, and you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4. Oh, 4, and then 4 zeros. Okay, now with your WANs, all of our WANs have 4 as the magic number. So you can go ahead and go down through here and figure this one out by adding 4. Okay, so WAN 1, its first ID, its net ID is 208. So where you only have 4 IP addresses to use, so 208, 209, 210, 211. And we'll just go ahead and finish out these other 2 WANs as well. Okay, all 3 of these are going to have a subnet mask the same because they all have only the 4. Okay, they're all /30. They all have 2 usable hosts, but you could possibly break down a subnet 64 times. Okay, so you're going to make sure you have 30 ones turned on, and then that leaves 2 zeros. So this is how you do a little bit more complicated subnetting when you have more than just 2 routers. So remember to always go from your most host to your least host, and don't forget to include your WANs when you are subnetting.